So our range is closed, not because of coronavirus, but because of construction. So we've got a 3-month period here where we've been having to go out to the desert or drive quite a ways to a different range to practice. So Jason from Targets USA was kind enough to send me a 6-pack of his target stands, which are really awesome because of how compact they break down and how easy they are to set up. So in a flat rate box, a large flat rate box, he's able to send 6 of these guys, and they're basically just a target stand that holds the sticks with holes for spikes if that's what you want to use. But I've just been using the conduit that he includes, and this is just cheap conduit that saves on cost, and they just slide into these squares here and you got yourself a stand. And I've just been finding stuff in the desert like big rock and putting them on them to prevent them from falling over in the wind. And when you break them down, like, that's as much space as one target stand takes. So I got a box of them, and I can just, throw 6 target stands in the box, and that's all I need for my practices. So thanks, Jason. Check them out, Targets USA. Alright, so what I have here are 8 1x2 8-footers that are cut into different lengths. So the first 4 I cut in half, so I have 4-foot lengths of each, and then the last 4 I cut into 5-foot and 3-foot lengths. So these are the 3-footers. These are going to be saved for fault lines on the ground, so like a start stick or an end stick or something. We'll get creative with drills with those, and then the rest are for the target. So we have 4 sets of 4-footers and 2 sets of 5-footers. 5-footers are going to come in handy for double stacks and vision barriers and that sort of thing. And then every drill that I do, so that you guys can follow along really easily, we'll be using at most 6 target stands and regular classic, or sorry, not classic, the metric targets with the heads, because we have a little more possibilities with those head boxes too. So a 6-pack of these target stands from Targets USA and 8 1x2 8-footers from Ace Hardware. That's all you need to follow along. Checks. right, so this is my first real practice session since doing this 100 grain load, and my goal for this session is not to improve any skill or anything, but really just to re-familiarize myself with how the gun shoots and feels, and getting in tune with the recoil, making sure that I'm controlling it consistently every time. So it's basically fine-tuning my grip and stance to this new feeling load. I'm actually just going to work with one target for maybe even all of this practice, I'm not sure yet, but I have a sheet of paper up there, and that's going to make it easier for me to spot the middle of the target. What I'm trying to do is eliminate every variable here except for focusing on my dot recovery. So I don't want to have to be aiming at the A zone, which I can't see inside of a big brown target. I want a specific color contrast target that I can really accurately watch my dot bounce in, all right, to make sure that it's not getting too close to the edges and it's returning dead center. So that's the thinking behind the white target, and this is something that you can apply to many different practices that you do. Like if you're practicing shooting on the move, you can just keep spray gluing up white pieces of paper and just try and keep all your hits in that zone. And it kind of works out because on a metric target like this, it's a little bit wider than the A zone and exactly as high as the A zone. And that's kind of your acceptable target area. So it's a really good technique to use during practice. So what I'm gonna start out with here is just building a stance, and I got 20 rounds in the mag loaded. I'm just gonna shoot one at a time and really observe the dot, watch what the dot does, and really adjust how much tension I need to put into my stance. Like how much weight do I need forward in order to control the force that's coming back at me. The goal with this load and this comp and this gun, the way it's tuned is to really lighten up on the tension that I need so that I can be more relaxed during the stage and still control the gun perfectly back on target. So I'm just gonna tune myself in one shot at a time, really observing what's going on. Just hold dead center of the target. Looks like I might need to re-zero a little bit, but let's try again. I'm just watching what the dot does. That's really promising. So oh my God, that's like, yeah, I see the dot move during recoil, but it doesn't move in recoil any more than it does by me literally holding the gun still and having that little shake. So it feels like it's tracking on rails right now. I'm really excited about this. Yeah, I sound really excited, huh? The first thing that I like to play with, if you get any side-to-side movement, so you notice your dot tracking to the right in recoil, to the left in recoil, is really play with how you align your body toward the target and behind the gun. So one of the things would be mess with where the stock is placed on your chest. I like to have it not in the exact pocket of my shoulder, like near the outside, but a little more inward. And then what I do is I rotate my body forward so that my right hip comes in and then my shoulder follows behind it, and I end up actually pushing my shoulder into the gun so that the stock is contained within the pocket that my shoulder rolling forward creates. And then as far as the upward dot movement goes, you can mess with how much forward weight you're putting into the gun. So basically how much tension is on the balls of your feet, how much forward lean you have. And with this gun, with how it tracks and recoil, I don't need much of that at all. So I'm gonna just do a test here to illustrate this. So I'm gonna stand up perfectly straight and just get my sight behind the gun, my eye behind the sight, and I'm gonna see how this thing knocks me around. So a couple of those, like the first one, it tracked back perfectly, but the second one actually pushed me back a bit. So that's where we're introducing a little bit of inconsistency. So all I'm gonna do here is offset my feet a little bit so I have more balance as I put a little more lean into the gun. And just from straight up, I'm just gonna go a little bit forward onto the front of my feet. And it's really nothing, just from this to here. And I'm hoping that this is still super relaxed, and I'm hoping that this is enough to control that gun and keep it really consistent. All right, let's try a couple more, one at a time. So a little bit there, I was even getting a push down, so that might be gas from the comp. So that means I need to loosen up on my, how much I'm like driving the gun toward the target with this hand. I think I actually might be pulling it down after recoil. So what I'm gonna focus on now is a few shots of just letting the gun fire and not acting at all, just letting it fire, watching what happens. All right, so in the middle of that string, I made a little change. When it started, I noticed it was going off to the right a little bit. It was staying level now, so I fixed that. But as it was going off to the right, I consciously used a little bit more muscular tension to turn myself into the gun. And during that string of fire, as I was shooting at that pace, I saw, like, as I was shooting, I just turned my body into the gun, and I saw my dot movement go from right, right, right to just center, center, center. So these are the little things that you need to adjust as you're tuning into the gun. I'll probably do a lot more videos on this in the future, but this is just a basic intro to it. I'm gonna move on to something else and get a lot more rounds downrange. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of doubles drill. And for those of you that aren't familiar, this is popularized by Steger and Hwansik over at Practical Shooting Training Group, PSTG. Go check them out. Really awesome site to be a member of. And basically what this is all we're doing is practicing shooting a pair at a target over and over again without really changing anything. So we're not adding like a presentation from stock on belt or anything like that. And it's just gonna be whenever you're ready, you hold your sight on target, whenever you're ready and you feel like your stance is set how you just experimented with, then what you're gonna do is just shoot a pair. And then watch the dot as you shoot the pair. Take a little pause and you're gonna do it again. Take a little pause and you're doing it again. You're not coming off target or anything. All right, so I'm just gonna do 4 in a row right here and just try to really recreate the stance that I just experimented with that I know works for this particular setup and make sure that I can execute it on pairs over and over and over again. All right, so the beginning of that, I think I was still putting a little too much effort into bringing the gun back to target, and I actually had some rounds go left. And I think the same thing might be happening where like if this hand is actually doing something to drive it back, and I gotta remember this gun's a little different, it acts differently. Just let it shoot, and I started letting it shoot by the last 2 pairs, and the group tightened up and they moved to the center of the paper. So I'm gonna do this a couple more times here. Okay, like notice, had a little bit of trigger freeze there. That's okay. Yeah, we do it one more time. Really try to get all the pairs that I shoot feeling exactly the same. All right, the first 4 were good. On the last one, I brought that thing back where I'm pulling the gun over. So I had 4 pairs that were like dead center. Then my last one, I had a center shot and a shot on the left edge of the paper. So not super happy about that. Let's see. I got 9 rounds left, so I'm gonna do 4 more pairs, see if I can tighten this up. That was just me burning the first round. Don't worry about that. Ooh, okay, those were awesome. I'm really happy with that. So what I felt there is actually a little bit more tension kind of on the right side of my body. And what I think that was is actually pushing into the gun, maybe a little bit of straight back force from this hand. Let me actually see what did I just do there? Yeah, so this side of my body felt like it was doing more work, just hooking around the side of the gun. And then this hand is not doing anything left and right, up or down or whatever. I'm a little bit, maybe just a tiny bit firmer on it, and then pulling back straight, making sure that that's straight. Because the more tension I add with this hand, I have a tendency to push the gun around in recoil, which I don't want. So, but those last 4 were like dead center. I'm super happy with that. All right, so that was only a few seconds, but I did put the gun down. I loaded the mag up. My head's kind of reset now. I'm not like staring at the target. So I'm gonna see if I can repeat that last string of 4 doubles that I had that was really good. I'm gonna remember, like, use some tension with this side of my body, keep the gun in place, and then just let it go straight back. Thought that might have happened. All right, so something a little weird happened in the first couple there. I had this weird like hook motion. It's probably just my left hand working again, but it moved, but it came back before the second shot, so I'm not super unhappy with that. The last two doubles in that string were good, so yeah, I think I know what I need to do, and I have a good picture in my head of how my body should be aligned behind the gun. So I'm going to leave this there and move on to something else. So this is what my target looks like after that last doubles drill segment, and I'm noticing that the height difference is pretty good, but I'm kind of all over the place left and right, which is kind of the opposite of what I want to be, right? Because the A zone is actually oriented the other way. So this is just a good illustration of what my problem is. So it looks like the amount of forward tension I'm putting into the stance is controlling my recoil force very well, right? So the gun is returning level, but something's going on, and I think it's my left hand acting up, where I am like pulling the gun back to the center of the target when I don't need to be, and what I end up doing is overshooting. And it's almost like I'm trying to prevent the dot from wiggling, which the dot's always going to wiggle in recoil. So I need to tell my brain, like, the dot's going to wiggle, just let it wiggle straight instead of trying to pull it back to center. Because really, with like when the bolt goes back into battery, that's going to jam it back to center. So yeah, it's something to work on here. So moving on, I have a new piece of paper up there, and I'm going to actually add the presentation from stock on belt. And what I'm trying to do here is I am going to be using the timer, but not to start initially. So I got the timer on, but 24 rounds loaded. So I'm going to lift the gun, get my stance, and do a pair. And that means I get 12 reps of this. And for the first 6 reps, I'm going to not act like it's a match, right? So basically what I'm going to do is start with my stock on my belt in the normal starting stance, and then lift the gun and really mentally visualize how the gun is placed on my chest, how my tensions are set. Make sure that I'm double checking before I start shooting. Okay, I lifted it up. Is it right? If it's not right, I'm going to correct it and make sure it feels correct, and then I'm going to shoot the pair. All right, so this is not match pace again. So we'll start with this first set of 6, just making sure everything's right before I start shooting. So I'm going to get on target first. Okay. So that's how I want to feel. I want to feel that rightward tension, you know, around the gun, keeping it centered. And this hand out front does almost nothing. So that's what I want to feel. I'm going to go back, and we're just going to recreate this. Okay. And I'm actually holding still at the end of the rep and kind of noticing, doing a self-check of my body, like, what did I actually do if I were to hold still and keep the tension? What I felt there is actually this hand was pulling in a lot more than I was used to. So let's do another rep, see what happens. I'm going to try to relax this hand a bit. All right, bump fire there. And they were an even better group and in dead center of the paper, so super happy with that, actually. Okay, I'm liking what this hand's doing out front. I'm just going to try to do that again. So that was 3 reps. Let's do 3 more. Okay, that one I might have brought it down a little bit after that first shot, because it looked like I had center and then low left. Let's try again. Try again. Once I place the stock on my chest, I'm trying to hold still. Ooh, that was good. My dot didn't move at all, like visually. I couldn't even perceive that movement. So that worked out. Let's try to do it again. Okay. You notice that my shooting pace after I lift the stock to my shoulder seems a little delayed. Maybe it doesn't if you haven't seen me shoot a lot before, but it definitely is. So I'm bringing the stock in my shoulder. I'm doing a quick, just mental check to say, like, okay, the stock's in the right spot, my tensions are set, and now I'm going to fire the double. And it's just a little pause. So now what I'm going to move to is a match pace. All right. Yeah, so that's so funny. I put the timer on and I come up, I'm like, I have so much tension in my hands. It worked out. the tension was even, so I didn't like push the dot anywhere, but man, I was holding the gun way harder than I just was during the other segment without the timer, so let's try and stay a little bit more relaxed here. Okay, we're still in the paper. That was a 87 first shot and an 11 split, 98. It felt pretty good. 79 first shot with a 13 split. Actually, when I lifted my dot up to the target, I saw it come up a little bit from the bottom right, and I pulled the first shot in the bottom right corner of the paper because I was moving it toward the center. I was like, I'm in the paper, shoot. So I shot in the bottom right corner, and then my second shot was in the center. So, yeah, this is kind of an example of how much thought I put into each of these reps. So I try to replay in my mind like what happened and what I did so that I can just be aware of what worked and what didn't work. And then the things that I know or that I think might have helped me, execute a good rep, I try to recreate those things, and the things that I think might have hindered me a little bit, try to stop doing those. And it's just practicing mindfulness. This is how I get a lot of work done in a little bit of time, in like not too many practices a week and a low amount of rounds. Just try to make the most of each rep. And I've trained myself to do this over years, and I think my practices are pretty efficient. So just a little tip there. So I got 3 more reps of this on the timer. So last one was a 9.2 total. So let's relax, see if we can beat that time. Okay, so that was a 9.0. I think I just moved my muscles faster on that one. I came up and shot one on the right side of the paper, one on the left side of the paper, and it had a lot more tension. Probably from trying to go faster, had more tension. So let's try and relax and still go the same speed. All right, wow, that was a lot faster. That was 71 first shot with an 83, and my shots were dead center, but they were very near the top vertical edge of the paper. Maybe one even went over into the C zone. But that was, yeah, that's what relaxing does. You react faster, and there's less time wasted by your stupid muscles. All right, one more? Yeah, one more. Let's go. So 8.3, that was the time, 8.3. I'm gonna try to kind of repeat that last one. All right, no, that was an 8.1. I came up, I wasn't centered though. If I had not been trying to shoot so fast, I think I would have corrected to the center of the target, but both of my shots there were near the bottom left corner of the paper. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good with this gun. I like the K2 grip too. All you guys on Instagram, freaking like 80% of you were like, K2, K2. I have the rubberized one too. I'd probably throw that on, try it. Yeah, so let's see. I got about 100 rounds left. And what I think I'm gonna do is now some more dynamic stuff. I'm still only gonna work with this one target, but I'm going to add some movement so that I have to build my stance and control the gun coming out of movement, like even aggressive movement. Before I glue it, this is what my target looks like after the presentations from stock on belt. Okay, so I got 36 rounds loaded, about a third of what I have left, and I got 3 sticks on the ground here. So these guys are about 5 yards away, back to the 25-yard line laterally, and then I have one that's 7 yards forward. So I guess that's about 18. And what I'm gonna do here with these 36 rounds is actually just work on the back for now. I'm going to start as if I'm in a start position on one side, and I'm gonna go as fast as I can across the stick on the opposite side back here, and then I'm gonna do 3 doubles. So it'll be 6 rounds from that position, and basically what this is doing is forcing me to set up after an aggressive movement, get set so that I can repeatably put pairs on targets. And this might be a little weird if you think about this exercise, putting like 6 rounds, doing doubles after a movement, but my thinking with this is basically, why would I add more targets and add the skill of transitions to different targets when I'm not 100% sure that I can set up and just repeatedly shoot pairs one by one on the same target. So I'm gonna do that first, make sure that I can check that off my list. Then maybe on my next range session, I can start adding more targets, do some aggressive movement, set my stance up, and now add the skill of transitioning. So I'm trying to keep it simple and just make sure that I have these fundamentals down before I start making it too complicated. So I'm gonna start by starting on the right side, moving left, and I'll do that for 3 of them. That should be 18 rounds, and we'll switch it, go the other way, and then we'll figure out what to do later. Pretty happy with those. They're all pretty much center of the target. Let's try to do it again. That was a 255 first shot, so that's my movement and setting up, and then a splits are about 15 splits. Okay, so there I did the classic thing of bringing the gun on target and trying to get ready to shoot before I made sure that I was stable. So I did correct myself there. Normally in a match you would have seen me shoot on one leg, but I forced myself to put both feet on the ground, readjust there, and then yeah, because that screwed with my head, I had trigger freeze and stuff, I had more tension. So let's try and clean that up, get stable before I decide to shoot the target. All right, so I am using, I notice, almost the whole paper now. A little bit less consistent as far as my dot tracking goes. So I'm just gonna keep that in the back of my mind, and as I move to the right, I'm gonna try to correct that a little bit. Make sure I'm still aiming for the center, not just the general area of that paper. Okay, those are really awesome. Lost my lav here, but that rep was very good. I saw my dot hardly move at all from the initial spot that I put it, which was like upper third of the paper. Hopefully my lav is good. Looks like it's still attached. Throw that actually in my pocket instead of clipped on. All right, let's try again. Okay, again, consistent. It wasn't quite as good as last time, but still relatively center of the paper. Happy with that. All right, that was a little worse. So on that one I came in, actually my first shot didn't have enough visual discipline. I shot off the left side of the paper. Second shot brought it in on the first pair. Second pair was good, it was dead center, but something was weird there. I might've been still moving with my body. I don't know, I'll have to look at the video. But I went across the target, so my third pair was actually on the right edge, and I let it go off the paper. So not quite as good there, but relatively okay overall. At this point, I'm looking less at what happened in each particular rep to try and find something to change. And I'm more concerned with like, oh, okay, what did I just practice? You know, when I was just shooting static, shooting that target, did I do that? No, I didn't do it perfectly. So at this point, I'm just trying to get more reps. Reps are what help, and make sure that you're really trying to go back to that feeling of just, you know, staying really relaxed after your aggressive movement so that everything is consistent. And yeah, just the more reps of doing that right that you can get, the easier it's going to be for you to do it subconsciously. So here's what we got after those side-to-side triple doubles, I guess you could call them. A few on the edges, but still mostly centered. But again, I'm using a lot more of the paper here, kind of opening up my acceptability to the entire white paper that I see instead of just the center of it. So getting near the end of the practice session here, only have 36 in this mag, 28 in the other one. So I'm just gonna do triangle drills now. So I got my 3 positions here, instead of running first, I'm going to add the presentation from the starting position. And instead of doing 3 doubles at each set or at each position, I'm going to do 2. So it'll be bringing the gun up, up, run, get in position there, up, run, go up to just behind that first or the downrange board fault line, do another 4, up. And again, I'm not really looking at time on the overall drill. The buzzer here is kind of just a stimulus to get started. And maybe I can review my split times if I felt like it, but the doubles drill is still in play. So I'm pausing in between each pair, all right, making sure that I can consistently do pairs over and over and over. All right, something's going on there for sure. So I decided to keep doing the rep even though I had trigger freeze. Probably like my right hand just bringing it up to target has way too much tension. So loosen that up, make sure that my trigger finger is actually working. All right, let's try again. All right. So I really like the positions back here. Coming up there, you'd think I'd shoot faster, but I was not stable at all as I came in. So just got to make sure that even though I'm closer to the target, still make sure that my stance is set up correctly before I start shooting. Let's switch directions now. All right. So second one here was really good. I came in, I don't know, just too aggressive or something. My first shot dipped below the paper from that front position. Let's try again. Cool. I focused a little bit more on getting stable here. I think I came in a bit lower. That worked out pretty well. So I got 17 rounds left. Yeah, I like that so far. So I could do one more rep of this, but I think it'd be interesting to close it off with a 25-yard bill drill from stock on belt. So here's what I'm looking at after that last set of 2 doubles at each position. And interestingly, these low ones were actually from me entering not very smoothly in the front position there. So it's relatively good. Still got some Charlies outside. But what I'm happy about, what I'm seeing is even the ones that are outside the paper are not in the D zone yet. So still right on the edge there, but still good. All right, so let's see if I learned anything from my practice today, or if I can retain anything. So I'm at 25 yards. This isn't a true bill drill because I'm not using a just standard cardboard, right? I got that white piece of paper on there, which is like a visual help. But I'm just curious to see what the times will be, and if I can consistently repeat, getting my nice relaxed stance that controls the dot really well. So yeah, let's give it a try. Okay, I think I'm gonna go look at the hits from the phone, or to show you guys with my phone. So it says a 157. Looks like, I don't think any of those are doubles. That one maybe. Maybe that one. I don't know, I didn't feel like it was Mike, but yep. That one felt a little tense and like I didn't put my dot in the right spot to begin with, so let's try to relax and put it in the center and shoot fast. That felt a lot better. It was a 144. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that would be 5 plus 6. So it looks like I had more toward the top of the target still and some lower. 144 is the last time. First 4 were good, and then I had it bounce off the top right. They might be there, but one's definitely in the shoulder. Had to send it on that one. we have 3 new holes here, here, and here. So obviously I need to have more forward tension when I am shooting that fast. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 total. So that means we had 1 mic off the top right. So cool. All right, time was good though, right? Looked good for Instagram. All right, that'll be my practice session today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know this video is super long, but I think it's gonna be extremely useful. And they're not all gonna be like this over the 60 days. Like, I'll probably do one of these, you know, extended practice sessions every week or so. And then maybe some equipment stuff and shorter stuff in between. So thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.